Did you know that you can export all of your data from Stash Hub? You can export your fabrics, patterns, projects, notions, and measurements as a CSV format, which can be really handy for a number of applications. So you could view all of your data in a spreadsheet, which can help you spot missing gaps, or you could do some of your own number crunching to generate additional stats to unpick your sewing habits. You can also use the export to create your own additional backups. Obviously, we've got Stash Hub backed up already, but you might wish to have your own versions of backups, so you're welcome to do that. You can also do other fun things like upload the CSVs into GPTs like Chat GPT and ask it questions about your stash. So let me show you about how to download your exports from Stash Hub. So this is my Stash Hub account. This is the web version, web.stashhubapp.com, but the same method works in the app version on iOS or Android. So in your menu, head to Settings, and then head to Export. And then there's an option to create a CSV for each pattern type. So let's create a CSV for my fabrics. So that will download it to my downloads folder on my computer. I believe it asks you where you want to save the export on your phone. So let's find my exported. So here's my export in my downloads folder. So the first thing that you can do is have a look at it on a spreadsheet. So I don't have Microsoft Excel installed on my computer. So I'm going to upload my export into my Google Drive, and that will allow me to use Google Sheets with it, which is similar to Excel, but it is free. So I've just dragged it from my downloads folder into this folder that I've created on my Google Drive. And then I can tap on the three dots menu, click open with, and then Google Sheets. So that will open it as a spreadsheet view. Okay, so this is all of my Stash Hub data. So what you can do is tap on, I think it's Format, Convert to Table. So that will just convert it to a slightly different look, but also it means you've got these options here. So for example, if I wanted to find missing information, so for example, if I scroll down, I can see some of my fabrics are missing a fabric category, so I can just find out which ones those are and how many there are. So I can do a filter, and then I can get rid of the ones that have assigned fabric categories and just show the blanks. So then these are all my fabrics that I haven't assigned a fabric category to, saying whether they're knits or wovens. And just looking at the names of these fabrics and knowing my own sewing tendencies, probably most of these are going to be woven. So then I can go into my Stash Hub and use bulk edit to add the woven category to my fabrics that are missing that information. So of course you can do whatever you like to do in a spreadsheet. I'm not going to go through that here, but if you want to, create your own stats and graphs with more information than what's already in the Stash Hub stats. So I'll show you quickly what's in the stats, and then you can have a think about what might be missing for you. So with the total fabrics, for example, this just shows what's currently unused in my stash. So it doesn't include things that are counted as used or destashed. So I might want to look, for example, use my stats to find out what's my total length of fabric I've had ever, for example, by going into my exported data and then doing a total of the purchase length, and then I can find out how much fabric I've bought ever. I'm not going to do that now, but so top fabric colors, fabric types, shops, status. So you might want to look at design features, for example. You might want to say, how many you know, what percentage of my fabrics are floral. So you could go through and have a look at that. So then another thing that I mentioned earlier, which I have tried, is uploading my CSV directly into Chat GPT. So you can just tap on the plus and add photos and files. So I've done this before just in case it took a little while to think about it. So I just said, give me a summary of my tastes in fabric. So it's done this summary for me. So let's go through this and I'll do a live react for you. So most used fabric types: cotton, especially cotton poplin and lawn, rayon viscose, and then occasionally a bit of a quilting cotton. I think that sounds pretty reasonable. We can see how it stacks up with my Stash Hub stats as well, fabric types. So yeah, I've got cotton here, rayon viscose here, cotton poplin here, and then these are other cotton types. So yeah, that pretty much covers what I tend to sew. And then yeah, drawn to natural breathable fabrics, can definitely agree with that. Woven fabrics dominate your stash. That is also true. I don't do a lot of sewing with knits. Blue is by far my top choice of colour. Yeah, definitely. And then I'm surprised to see pink in there, but that I think is from doing my Project Dresser Girl dresses. I've used a few pink fabrics for that. Floral's my most prominent style in my stash. Yeah, I can see that. You also have a solid number of plain fabrics, which surprises me. So yeah, I'm going to have a look through my stash after this and see how many plain fabrics I actually have, because I feel like I don't tend to buy a lot of plain fabrics. I just get too drawn to the florals, obviously. Where you love to shop, Sew Me Sunshine. That's one of our incredible partnered shops. So yeah, love Sew Me Sunshine. They've got such a good range. And yeah, some of the other shops that I like to sew with, Sorry Sew Swap. Yeah, I always say I'm not going to pick up too much on the swap table, but then I can't resist. Yeah, even my average fabric weight, lightweight to midweight fabrics. So yeah, that's really interesting. And then obviously you can ask it more questions about your stash, whatever you want to know. So I said, make me charts about my stash. Bar charts, which I don't think are as good as doing the pie charts like we've done in Stash Hub, but it's still interesting. So yeah, you can see the cotton is much higher than all my others. This is my woven to knits ratio, which yeah tells you what you need to know about my sewing with knit fabrics. And then yeah, obviously blue dominating as well, and then a fairly even spread of a few other colours. Floral, and then plain is higher than all the other ones, which is really interesting. So definitely going to have a look at my plain fabrics. Let's do that now. So if we go back to fabrics, and then I'm going to set the filter to all, and then set this filter to design plain. So yeah, I mean, actually some of these fabrics I've used for doing Project Dresser Girl dresses. That I did for a jacket for Doug. Some of these are on my wish list as well, so I haven't actually bought them. So maybe it's including my wish list fabrics as well. That's interesting. You can see I've got a weakness for the cobalt blue. I've got all kinds of cobalt blue fabric in my stash. Okay, but that's quite interesting. That's a fair amount of plain fabrics. Not all of them I've used to sew for me, and some of them are destashed or wish list. But yeah, interesting. Maybe I'm not as bad on plain fabrics as. Get my charts back up. So this is my weight distribution charts. Not super interesting, but I've got one fabric that's super heavyweight, like way heavier than all the rest. So I'm curious to see which fabric that is and whether I just typed in the weight wrong. So let's go back to my stash and then filter for weight 400 plus. Oh, so this is a beaded fabric, so that's why it was so heavy. It's not that it's like a heavyweight fabric per se, it's just the fabric itself weighed a lot because of all the beads on it. Yeah, so I've actually destashed that fabric because I didn't know what to make with it, and I don't tend to wear a lot of black. Yeah, okay, well that's quite interesting. But yeah, hopefully you have fun playing with the export option in Stash Hub and let me know what you guys use it for, because it has been requested quite a few times. So yeah, I'm interested to see what your ideas for it are, and let us know if you've got any additional stats. So I'll just quickly show you where to find your exports again. So if you go to settings and then export, and then you can choose which record type you want to export. So exporting records is a Stash Hub Plus feature. So if you're on the free version of Stash Hub and you want to have a go at exporting your records, you'll need to upgrade. So if you go into settings and then click view subscription, you can sign up to Stash Hub Plus there, and you can sign up on the web version or on iOS or Android, and it will sync across all your devices if you log in with the same account. So let us know if you've got any questions about this export feature in Stash Hub, and happy sewing. Bye.